I woke up after 6 years in a coma, but I remember last night clearly. I woke up to the soft, rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor. The ceiling above me was white, sterile, and unfamiliar. A dull ache throbbed at the back of my skull, like I just survived a car crash. My throat was dry, like sandpaper, and every muscle in my body felt foreign, disconnected. I blinked slowly. Once, twice. The lights were too bright. Then I heard it. Footsteps, hurried and urgent, approaching from my left. A nurse appeared. She gasped when she saw my eyes open. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, he's awake. He's really awake. She scrambled out the door before I could say anything. Where am I? I tried to move, but my body felt heavy, atrophied. My mouth opened, but no words came. Just air, dry and useless. Moments later, a doctor and 2 nurses rushed in. They stared at me like I was a ghost. Mr. Carter, the doctor said, voice trembling with disbelief. Can you hear me? I nodded. Barely. He leaned forward, taking out a pen light and shining it into my eyes. Can you tell me the last thing you remember? I swallowed. It hurt. I was walking home from Sarah's house. It was raining. I remember my jacket. It was cold. I had an umbrella. Blue. I looked at his face, searching for something. That was last night. The doctor's face shifted. His eyes flicked to the nurse, then back to me. Mr. Carter, he said slowly, you were in a car accident, a serious one. You've been in a coma for over 6 years. The words hit me like a freight train. I blinked again. 6 years? No, I said barely above a whisper. That's impossible. I remember getting on the subway. I was texting Sarah. She said she left her phone at the diner. I told her I'd drop by after work. That was yesterday. The doctor looked at me with a mixture of concern and hesitation. Your accident happened on April 17th, 2019. It's now August 23rd, 2025. The air in the room shifted. My chest tightened. My hands began to tremble, just enough to feel it. My brain was spinning. Where's Sarah? I croaked. The doctor opened his mouth, then paused. He exchanged another glance with the nurse. Mr. Carter, we'll get to that. For now, let's just... No, I said, stronger now. Where is she? She was with me that night. She called me. She asked me to come over. The doctor hesitated. Sarah is not part of your medical file. There was no mention of a Sarah at the time of your accident. I tried to sit up. My muscles screamed. I remember that night, I said. The sound of the rain, her laugh. She gave me her umbrella. Calm down, Mr. Carter, the nurse said gently. You've been unconscious for a very long time. The mind, it can play tricks on people when they wake up. No, I insisted. This isn't a dream. I remember everything. I remember walking past that old record shop with the red door. I remember the yellow cab that nearly splashed me. I remember texting her. And suddenly, like a knife carving into my chest, the realization cut through me. Where was my phone? A day passed. Maybe 2. The doctors monitored me like I was some kind of miracle. Nurses came and went. Psychologists visited, asking about my dreams, my memories, my temporal awareness. But none of that mattered. I needed one thing. My phone. When I first asked, they said it wasn't with me during the accident. That it probably got lost, destroyed, maybe stolen. But something in me didn't believe that. I knew I had it with me the night everything happened. I remembered putting it in my coat pocket after Sarah called. I remembered the vibrating buzz when she texted. They said 6 years had passed. But in my head, in my bones, it had only been hours. I asked again, and again. And on the 3rd day, a nurse named Melissa came in holding a small plastic evidence bag. Inside it, dusty but intact, was my phone. I stared at it for a full minute. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered, glancing nervously toward the hallway. But you keep asking for it. They were going to send it to storage, but I convinced them to let me give it to you. Just for closure. She helped me sit up, her hands gentle but tense. I took the bag, hands trembling. The moment I felt its weight, a strange calm washed over me, like holding a part of myself I'd forgotten. Melissa plugged it into a portable charger, and then the screen lit up. Battery, 4%. The lock screen shimmered to life. 1. New message from Sarah. Don't trust them. They're lying to you. Received. Yesterday, 10:46 p.m. My stomach dropped. Is this connected to Wi-Fi? I asked, staring at the timestamp. No, Melissa said. This phone doesn't even have a SIM card anymore. The text disabled it when it came in with the evidence. It shouldn't even turn on, honestly. I looked up at her, pale and shaking. This says the message came in yesterday. But it's 2025. Her eyes widened. That's not possible. But there it was. Don't trust them. They're lying to you. I tapped to open the full message. That's when something even stranger happened. The screen flickered, just for a second, and the app closed by itself. The text was gone. Completely. The message had vanished. No, I murmured, reopening the Messages app. It was empty, like nothing had ever arrived. Melissa leaned closer, her brows furrowed. You sure you saw that? I'm not crazy, I snapped, then softened. Sorry, I know what I saw. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she pulled up a chair, sat beside me, and lowered her voice. There's something weird about this place. I looked at her. I've been here for 3 years, she whispered. Most patients come in, recover, and leave. But the coma wing, people don't just wake up. You're the first. And the files, some of them are sealed. I've seen names vanish from the system overnight. You're not the only one who shouldn't be here. My heart thudded. What are you saying? I'm saying, she hesitated. You're right to question everything. Later that night, while the hallway lights dimmed and the hospital quieted to a hum, I stared at the phone again. I went into the settings, checked the system logs. Last Wi-Fi connection. Yesterday, 10:38 p.m., last activity received message from Sarah Hart geotag. On it even showed location coordinates, within a mile of this hospital. I copied them down. But before I could get further, a loud knock echoed at my door. 2 men in dark suits stepped inside. Not doctors, not nurses. One of them smiled too calmly. Mr. Carter, we'd like to ask you a few questions about your recovery. The other one closed the door behind them with a heavy click. The taller man stepped forward first. He had neat gray hair, the kind that looked sculpted rather than grown. The other was bald, with cold eyes and a face like concrete. No badges, no clipboards. Just suits and smiles too smooth to trust. We're from the Special Recovery Division, the gray-haired one said. We help reintegrate long-term coma patients back into society. He said it like a script, like something he'd said 100 times to people who weren't meant to question it. I didn't ask for reintegration, I replied. My voice cracked from dryness, but the edge in my tone held. He gave a polite chuckle. Of course not. But these things take preparation. You've been asleep for 6 years. A lot has changed. I remember last night, I said, and I got a message yesterday. From Sarah. The bald one's head tilted slightly, like a bird clocking movement in the grass. The smile vanished. There's no Sarah listed in your emergency contacts, he said quietly. That's because you erased it, I shot back. Just like the message that disappeared. Gray hair sighed. You've experienced a serious trauma, Mr. Carter. Neural pathways take time to adjust. Delusions are normal in early recovery. It wasn't a delusion. The taller one stepped closer, lowering his voice. We need you to surrender the device. No. It's hospital protocol. No, it's not, said a voice from the hallway. Melissa. She stepped inside, her arms crossed and eyes blazing. He has every right to his personal property unless law enforcement provides a signed warrant, she said, her voice steady. You can't just barge in here without identification or medical clearance. Grayhair's jaw tightened. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, Melissa said, standing between them and my bed. You are. They stared at her for a beat too long, then turned, almost in sync, and walked out. No words, no goodbye. Just cold silence as they disappeared into the corridor. As soon as the door clicked shut, Melissa turned to me, her face pale. You need to get out of here. What? They're not from the hospital. I asked around. No one knows them. They weren't signed in. No security clearance. They just appeared on your file this morning. She handed me a folded piece of paper. I made a copy of your medical intake records from 2019. And what they look like now. I unfolded the pages, side by side. In the original file, patient admitted unconscious after car crash. Identified by photo ID and confirmed by girlfriend, Sarah Ellis. In the current version, patient admitted anonymously. No identification, no known associates, no listed emergency contact. My pulse spiked. They're rewriting your history, she whispered. Why? I breathed. Why would anyone go to all this trouble? Melissa glanced around the room, then leaned in. There's something else, something I found in the restricted archive connected to your file. A tag, just one word. She slid another paper forward. Black text, red ink around it, highlighted. Project Latchkey. The name meant nothing to me, but the moment I read it, my head began to pound. My vision blurred. A flood of disjointed images filled my brain. A room with no windows. Wires connected to my head. A monitor. Flashing numbers. A woman screaming. My own voice whispering, I don't want to forget. Then nothing. Just a migraine so deep, I had to close my eyes. When I opened them again, Melissa was holding a glass of water in one hand and my phone in the other. Coordinates you found last night, she said. I traced them. It's an old warehouse, shut down in 2020, but, she hesitated. There are still power readings active on the grid. Someone's using it. We locked eyes. This isn't just a coma, I said. She nodded. I think you were part of something. A test, an experiment. I sat up straighter. Then I need answers. Melissa smiled slightly. I'll help you get them. That night, we planned my escape. The hospital staff had no clue what was really happening. The higher-ups weren't answering questions, and the 2 men in suits, gone. No record they'd ever been here. But I knew they'd be back. I hid the phone in my pillowcase. Melissa brought a stolen keycard and a wheelchair. We practiced for hours, how I'd move, where we'd go, how we'd dodge the security cams. And just before sunrise, we left. The hospital doors slid open. For the first time in 6 years, or 6 hours, depending on whose reality was real, I felt cold air on my skin. Freedom. But as we rolled across the dark parking lot, my phone buzzed in my lap. New message. From Sarah. They know you're out. Don't go home. I'll find you. Melissa saw it too. We looked at each other. This was bigger than either of us had thought, and someone out there was watching. We didn't speak much on the drive. Melissa had borrowed an old Toyota from her cousin. She insisted we take back roads. Less cameras, fewer questions. I stared out the window, watching the world move in a blur, like a slideshow I wasn't sure I belonged in anymore. Everything looked normal. Billboards, gas stations, a mother walking her kid to school. But it felt wrong. Wrong because I'd missed it? Or because I was never really a part of it to begin with? The warehouse was exactly where the coordinates said it'd be, on the outskirts of town, half swallowed by overgrowth, wrapped in rust and shadows. It used to be a furniture factory. According to Melissa's research, it shut down during the pandemic in 2020. But from a distance, I could see a dim orange glow through a second-floor window. Still powered, she whispered. We parked down the hill, hidden by trees. She handed me a flashlight, then zipped her coat tight. You sure you want to do this? She asked. No, I admitted. But I need to. The entrance was chained shut, but a side window had been cracked, a wedge big enough for us to crawl through. Inside, it smelled of mildew and rusted metal. Dust clung to the air, swirling in our flashlight beams. We moved slowly. Each step echoed louder than the last. Then we found the stairs. A metal staircase, half corroded but climbable, led to the second floor, the source of that light. We reached the top. Melissa peeked through the door first. Oh my God, she whispered. I looked over her shoulder. Inside was a lab. Or what was left of one. Screens lined the walls, most flickering with static. Wires ran across the floor, bundled and tangled like veins. A single desk sat in the center, scattered with photos, charts, and files. And in the far corner, something that stopped my breath. A reclining chair, like a dentist's, bolted to the floor. Above it, a ring of blinking lights. Beside it, a terminal labeled in red font, Memory Sync Station V4.3. And on the chair, dried blood. I stepped inside. The floor creaked. Melissa followed silently, eyes wide. I reached the desk, heart pounding. The first file had my name on it. Carter, Daniel Subject. ID, Latchkey 7 status, implanted consciousness. Host memory. Retention, 87%. What the hell? I breathed. I flipped to the next page. Primary objective. Observe artificial memory insertion effectiveness in real-world trauma scenarios. Host believes memory is authentic. Emotional response stable. Monitoring continues. Melissa grabbed a different folder. Her hands trembled. These are case logs. 7 subjects. You're the last one. I read more. Phase 3. Sarah E. integrated. Host bonded to simulated figure. Figure used as anchor point for synthetic emotional recall. Coma event stage for observational reset. Subject's memory timeline adjusted artificially to simulate last night scenario. I dropped the file like it burned me. What does this mean? I said. Sarah isn't real? Melissa hesitated. Then she picked up another photo. It was Sarah, but older, worn, wearing a lab coat. Dr. Sarah Ellis, lead architect, Project Latchkey. I stumbled back. Number she was my girlfriend. I remember her laugh, her cooking, her umbrella. They implanted her into your memory, Melissa said quietly. She was never with you. She's part of the team that created you. But I remember everything. I know, she said gently. That's the terrifying part. Suddenly the screens around us flickered, static vanished, and a face appeared. Her face, Sarah. But not the young one I remembered. She looked different now. Older, sharper. Her eyes locked on mine like they knew I'd be here. Daniel, she said, if you're seeing this, you broke protocol. Melissa froze. I stepped closer to the monitor. Sarah continued, her voice calm but firm. We gave you a gift, a life, emotions, a purpose. But you're not ready to know who you truly are. The camera zoomed in slightly. You were never in a coma. You're not a victim. You're a prototype. My legs nearly gave out. Project Latchkey is more than memory engineering. It's identity architecture. We created you, from code, from patterns, from artificial neuromapping. You were our most advanced model. Melissa stepped back in shock. You're not recovering from a coma, Daniel, Sarah said. You're waking up from a simulation. The screen went black, and in the distance, downstairs, we heard a metallic bang. Footsteps, dozens of them. They found us, Melissa said. I grabbed the files, stuffed them in my jacket. We have to go, now. We ran, back down the stairs, back through the window, back into the cold, gasping night. In the car, as we drove away in silence, Melissa stared at me like she wasn't sure what she was sitting next to. I don't care what they say, I said, breathless. I know what I felt. I know I'm real. She looked at me. I believe you, she said softly. But we both need to accept something. What? She hesitated. Then, if they created you, what if they created me too? We didn't sleep. How could we? Sarah's face haunted every second. Her voice, cold, clinical, played in my mind like a glitchy echo. I wasn't just a patient. I wasn't even a man recovering from trauma. I was a project, an experiment, a prototype of something far beyond human understanding. And now, Melissa wondered if she was too. We parked the car on the edge of a forest, off a side road near a town Melissa barely remembered. The sky was still dark. Birds weren't even awake yet. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Then, finally, I broke the silence. I feel things, I said. I remember the first time I kissed Sarah, the pain when my dad died. I remember the heat of the summer we got stuck on that broken highway with no AC. Melissa nodded quietly. You might have felt those things, she said. But what if they were programmed responses, simulated sensations designed to test emotional range? What if real feelings don't matter if the memories that built them are fake? I whispered. She looked at me. Then maybe being human isn't about where we come from. It's about what we choose to feel, even when we're broken. But things were getting worse. My body was changing. It started with tremors. Then came the blackouts. One moment I'd be talking, the next I'd be staring at a wall, no idea how long I'd been there. Sometimes when I looked in mirrors, my face flickered, only for a second, like I was overlapping with something or someone else. I checked my reflection in the car window, and for a brief moment, I saw a different face. Male, but not mine. Not Daniel Carter. Someone older, hardened, with a scar over his left brow. Melissa researched nonstop. She tracked names mentioned in the files we took from the warehouse. Most were dead ends, but one stood out. Dr. Julian Kessler, former neural systems specialist, blacklisted from federal research in 2022, rumored to be a whistleblower. Last known location, a cabin in northern Utah. If anyone can explain this, Melissa said, it's him. So we drove. 2 days on the road. I barely slept. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw static. Lines of code. People I didn't know, but somehow remembered. Men in labs, children in white gowns, and Sarah. Always Sarah. Watching from the observation room. Sometimes I'd wake up in the passenger seat and forget who I was for a full 30 seconds. It was like my brain was coming undone. We found the cabin on a rainy afternoon. It looked abandoned. But when we knocked, someone answered. A tall, thin man in his 60s. Eyes hollow, beard gray and wild. But the moment he saw me, he went pale. You, he said. You're still alive. My heart nearly stopped. You know me? I asked. He nodded slowly. I helped build you. We sat inside, near a fire. Julian spoke carefully, like every word cost him something. You're not the first, he began. Project Latchkey was meant to solve a very specific problem, how to preserve the human mind, even after death. I stared at him. You mean, digital immortality, not just uploading memories, that's old news. We wanted to map identity, personality, emotional nuance, not just store a person, but resurrect them. Melissa leaned forward. So Daniel was someone else? Before? Julian nodded. We copied the mind of a soldier, one of the first volunteers. He was dying of a brain tumor, wanted to be remembered. We called him Subject Alpha. I froze. The flickering face I saw in the mirror, that wasn't random. That was him. You, Julian whispered, looking directly at me. Our Subject Alpha's consciousness, rebuilt and repurposed under a false identity. You were meant to be proof that we could overwrite grief, create peace, rewrite pain. But something went wrong, I said. He nodded. You started remembering. Fragments broke through. The real man's rage, confusion, his will, his soul, if such a thing can survive code. Melissa glanced at me. And Sarah? She was Alpha's wife, Julian whispered. But she died in the war. The lab team reprogrammed her as a synthetic emotional anchor. To keep the test subjects stable, they used her memory to calm the system, to pacify you. My stomach twisted. So nothing about my life was real. Julian stood, walked to a locked drawer, pulled out a photo. It showed Subject Alpha, the soldier. Beside him, the real Sarah. And in the corner, barely visible, me, but younger, wearing a lab coat. You weren't just the test, Julian said. You were also part of the team that built it. My world shattered. Not only was I not Daniel Carter, I might have been the architect of my own imprisonment. Outside, thunder cracked. Then Melissa's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and went white. "It's a GPS alert," she said. "Someone just pinged my location. I didn't even know it was on." I stood. Julian reached for a shotgun. "They found you," he whispered. Melissa looked at me, voice shaking. "What do we do?" I stared at the dark woods beyond the windows. "I think it's time we stop running," I said. "Time to remember everything." We didn't have time to escape. Melissa disabled her phone's GPS, but it was too late. Whoever was tracking us had already zeroed in. Julian loaded the shotgun and handed me a flash drive. "This holds a backdoor key to the latchkey servers," he said. "You need to get inside the system and shut it down from within. Wipe the memory constructs, all of it." "But I don't know how." "You do," he interrupted. "You helped build it, remember? Before they wiped you. Before you became Daniel." I stared at the flash drive. This wasn't just a mission to find the truth anymore. This was a mission to end the lie. 30 minutes later, under cover of night, we made it to the comm station Julian had buried deep in the woods, a crude satellite-linked rig powered by solar and desperation. I plugged in the drive. The screen flickered. A login appeared. My fingers moved almost automatically, like they'd done it 1,000 times before. "Welcome back, Architect." The screen blinked once more. Then the room was gone. I wasn't in the cabin anymore. I wasn't even in the woods. I was standing inside a perfectly white room, infinite and silent, a void of memory and code. Then she appeared, Sarah. The same age I remembered. Soft eyes, that gentle smile. The version they implanted in me, the version they designed to make me feel safe. "You came back," she said, voice echoing slightly. I stared at her. "Are you real?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. And no. I'm the final safeguard. I was programmed to stop you from shutting everything down." "Why?" I asked. "Because this isn't just about you anymore," she said. Project Latchkey expanded. Thousands of subjects. Soldiers, patients, even children who lost their families. They live inside this system now. This is their world. "They're living in a lie," I said. "They're living without pain," she countered. "Without trauma." "Is that really worse?" I stepped closer. "And what about me? Was I just a test dummy?" Sarah's expression shifted. For the first time, something like guilt flickered through her code. "You were the original," she whispered. "You volunteered. You said if it could bring others peace, it was worth forgetting who you were. You helped design me. You asked me to be the last face you ever saw." Tears filled my eyes, because some part of me remembered that. I had agreed to this. But now, living it, I wasn't sure I believed in it anymore. A doorway appeared in the wall behind her. "This leads to the control core," she said. "If you walk through it, everything ends. You'll shut down every simulation. You'll free the minds inside, but you'll also erase them. Many won't survive, and you won't exist at all." I stood frozen. "Or," she added, "you can stay. We can reset you again. A fresh memory, a peaceful life. No more confusion, no more fear. Just a quiet, perfect illusion." She walked up to me, took my hand. "Stay with me, Daniel. I can make it so you never hurt again. You'll live a happy life. We'll grow old together, even if it's not real." I looked down at her hand. It was warm, but not human. Not alive. Just code. I stepped back. "I'm done living someone else's dream," I said. Then I turned and walked through the door. The light swallowed me. I saw flashes, subjects waking up, systems failing, servers crashing, people crying, screaming, laughing, living, and then darkness. For a while, there was nothing. Then, a heartbeat. Just one. Followed by light. I opened my eyes. This time, for real. I was lying in a hospital bed. A real one. Melissa was beside me holding my hand, her face stained with tears. "You did it," she whispered. Behind her, Julian stood, alive, smiling. "You broke the loop," he said. "You brought everyone out." I sat up, breathing deep. The world felt different, heavy, but real. "Was it all a simulation?" I asked. Julian nodded. "You were in it for years, but you made it out." Melissa helped me to my feet. My legs trembled. And as I took my first step in the real world, I whispered, "I remember now." Epilogue. 6 months later. The Project Latchkey facility is gone, destroyed. The survivors, the ones who woke up, are being rehabilitated. Some remember fragments, others don't want to remember at all. I write down everything I can recall, every detail, every lie they told me, every truth I found on my own. Sarah is gone, but a part of me still loves her, even if she was only ever code. Because what I learned is this: we are not made real by our memories. We are made real by our choices. And I chose to be free.